Linus loses at a card game. Admiral Vance has fallen ill with a Melindian stomach worm. And Tilly says Rigelian rutabagas are horrible. They sound pretty good though, right? Hey everybody, welcome to the 7th Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello.
Has anybody had any rutabagas before, by the way?
Arugula.
Good enough. All right. My name is Ryan T. Husk. Today we're doing a review of Discovery Season 4, Episode 4, entitled All Is Possible. We are joined by associate producer, Dr. Marie Segal.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Awesome.
Yay.
Rutabagas, I think I may have had it once. It's like a long root. No, it's like a long root. Kind of looks like a yam in shape, but it's long and it has like a hard skin. If I'm thinking of no, maybe that's not it.
Put it in the comments.
A rutabaga.
Yeah, arugula. Anyway, what a fun episode. This actually felt a little bit more like older Star Trek episodes in a way, in that there was, an A plot, a B plot, and there was even a C and D plot in there, but it was very much like, here's the main plot, here's the subplot going back and forth. Anne-Marie, you are beside yourself with excitement.
I just love it. In a very TNG direction. And I felt like this is my favorite. Okay, spoilers. My favorite episode since Magic to Make the Sanest Man Go Mad in season 1. I thought it was wonderful. And there's a new ship in town, and I'm the ultimate shipper, and I'm totally shipping S/Tino.
Okay. We also have to point out very quickly, Anne-Marie, for like the 10th time today already, you are correct. A rutabaga does look like a radish. You are correct.
Oh,
look at that.
Snap. It's because it's in the Fantastics and a song about vegetables.
No, I don't know what that thing was that I had.
A
what
carrot.
are you eating?
A carrot. No, it was like a long. Oh, that's what it was. It was a yucca root. It was a yucca root. The
That's
yucca
what
trees.
it was.
What color was it?
It's like brown and gnarly.
Okay, it was a Leola root.
You don't believe me? I'll show you that too. But then we're going to talk about this episode.
Because I can't wait.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go. So everybody listening in, I swear we're just showing something very interesting right now. So that's what it looks like. Yeah.
Oh, so
yeah,
it's like ginger / Leola root.
Kind of looks like a. Never mind. All right.
Yeah, I don't do yucca.
It was good.
I don't do yucca.
Okay.
Well,
when I go to my Brazilian restaurant, they have a lot of yucca flour, and I stay away from it. I'm just not a big on it.
Really?
Ooh, I never had it before.
Me neither.
Yeah.
So, by the way, everybody at home, this is a Discovery review. We're talking about root vegetables.
Was this like the longest cold open in Star Trek history? I think it was 10
long.
minutes before the credits.
Was it that long?
Over 10 minutes.
Wow.
Which I just love those credits so much. I'm like, when do we get to hear them?
Cirroc, what do you think of these outfits, these uniforms that Saru and Michael are wearing behind me?
I love them. I'm just a little bit. The outfits do change a lot on this show. I've seen so many different outfits. So clearly they spend a lot of time organizing their wardrobe, right? I've seen some of the coolest outfits on this show.
So good, so sleek.
Yeah, so sleek. The ones that you're showing behind you. I actually really love the Tarina character, Navarre's president. I thought she was very well dressed in this episode. Actually, I did one of her little sketch of her little outfit.
Yes, that collar line.
Collar line.
Wait. Let me spotlight this.
I kept freezing it to look at it.
Wow, that's really good.
Not really, but it's
brilliant.
It's just a little sketch. But I love the fabric and I love the collar. It actually had a little pin that was adorned on the bottom of the collar line. I just love the way that they put that outfit together. And also, you were
It
talking
really hogged her
earlier
curves. I feel like that was for
Yeah.
Saru.
Okay, Cirroc, we're going to
think
try
so.
to talk about the merits of the wardrobe, but
Sorry.
but we have to get this out of the way. Anne Marie, you are
I've been gushing
very
about
much shipping, as the kids say, Saru and Tarina, right? Can you tell us
Yes.
all about that so that we
I
can
love a
move
good ship.
forward with our lives?
Well, first of all, I just never even thought to ship Saru with anybody, and it came out of nowhere. Suddenly, you see them like making eyes across the table, and I love the way Star Trek does ship. And she made tea for him.
Yeah, that was
It
cute.
So cute. And then they what's it called? What's the name of that? Oh, they threshed Torkashekt. Which I was like, oh my gosh, this is so intimate. And did that like cool like hands thing that you do on the playground where you go like this. It was just so sweet. And then they like pan back and show them both really into it. And then at the end of the episode, it was so cute how like Saru's like, I guess I'm going to have tea with
that was cute.
the president or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, they want extra time together. I'm super into it. And they bring out like a little bit of sparkle in each other's eyes, which is how I really like Star Trek to do their relationships, and they always do.
Okay, but
no one does
for
a better
reference,
relationship than Star Trek.
so we know how good this theoretical coupling is. What are your
Ship.
top 3
Mm.
Star Trek?
Oh, you can't make me
ships?
choose 3. Worf and Dax. I love Tom and B'Elanna. Obviously, Troy and Riker.
Okay, that's 3.
Oh, Ram and Lita. There's so many good ones, but I think actually this is my favorite on Discovery. It's so cute, and my favorite in current Star Trek.
What do you
I love
think,
when
Cirroc?
it happens to like unexpected characters, and it really does bring out like a softer side in them.
Mhm.
Yeah, there is a definite chemistry between the two of them. And the woman that plays Tarina has a very graceful, kind of elegant look to her.
Yeah.
And I like the kind of flirtatious eyes that she has. At some moments, she just gives like a look over. And that look says 1,000 things. And Saru is picking up on those things. So yeah, I definitely feel the chemistry between the two of them. And heck, I mean, somebody's got to hook up with somebody out there, because it looks like there's nothing else to do. What else is there to do? You know, play some cards, hang out on the ship, walk up and down the corridors, and eventually you gotta find somebody to have fun with. So I'm glad that Saru's found somebody that is digging him and is liking him.
Is what-ing him?
Digging.
No, digging him. And they have like similar personalities in a lot of ways.
Yeah, he's like, show me your meditation room.
Yeah. To me, he's almost Vulcan in the way he thinks and the way he approaches. You know, he's very logical. He's very reserved emotionally. So it seems like a fit.
Well, we do love Doug Jones. Doug Jones is amazing. Yeah. We love him. We love Saru. The actress that plays Tarina is named Tara Rosling.
Great. So I looked her up.
She's amazing.
Awesome. She's also, it seems like a lot of people who played like also the cadets, they've been in a few like really amazing other Canadian shows or shows that are shot in Toronto. And she's been like a guest star in my favorite Canadian show, Murdoch Mysteries, a few times and like stolen the show. Also, she's I think a Swiss ambassador in Handmaid's Tale, and is excellent. She's great. And some of the cadets too are like wonderful actors that they found.
Yeah, I really liked that. It had a slight feeling of like Nova Squadron or Red Squad, where you're meeting the kids, a little bit of lower deckers in there. That was a very interesting thing, that when they crash landed, I got a little happy. I was like, okay, cool. It's gonna be one of these episodes.
I knew you were gonna love it. The second I saw that, I was like, this is Orion. It's
one of those episodes. And Don Crandall points out that it's reminiscent of the episode. I don't have it in front of me. He mentioned what it was, But the episode, if you'll recall, where Wesley Crusher and Picard, they crash land with some ambassador, and the three of them, and they got those head.
No, he's just like some junkyard ship driver.
Oh, is that what it was? Yeah. So, it was one of those episodes, and those are usually really interesting episodes, and that can be a full episode. You don't necessarily need to have all this extra stuff. If you wanted, you could have turned that into its own standalone episode. They didn't, and it was a great B plot, but they certainly could have.
Going back to that, I just wanted to say, like, I really liked Dr. Klober recommending Tilly go on that mission to do, because it just kind of showed like he had like a next level understanding of people's personalities and what they might need at a certain time, and that he really is a good counselor, and saw that would be like a goodness of fit with Tilly. And then the only weird thing was, as one of the cadets even said, like, it was so weird it wasn't a hollow simulation, because you have like this thing roaming the galaxy, you don't know where it's going to be at any time, and then like, why not have a training thing just a hollow simulation? Why put it in something where someone might die, like in a real life scenario? That part had me on the edge of my seat for like 5 minutes, while I was like, wait, this is a hollow simulation, right? Like usual. And then I realized it wasn't, when somebody actually died and then stayed dead.
Stayed dead. We knew that was the character that was going to die, though. We knew that was going to be the dead
Column character. Or something. Yeah, that was
Columini, yeah. Real quick, Don also says the other episodes that's like that from the original series, the Galileo 7, where they crash land. Just kind of like the Next Generation's final mission.
I actually thought of a different episode when I was watching this. And it was actually verbatim. The B plot line had a verbatim, essentially, I guess they borrowed from the episode The Ascent, with Odo and Quark having to climb that mountain.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I noticed that too. Yeah.
Yeah, and for the purpose of having the transmitter, right? Quark had to bring the Quark and Odo had to bring the transmitter so that they could get a signal to reach back home. And so I'm like, wait a minute, isn't that exactly what?
Didn't we just see that?
These guys are doing? Yeah, we just saw that. These guys have to bring the transmitter on, go to the top of the mountain so their transmitter would work. So I was like, well, that's an exact kind of borrow from that episode, The Ascent. So that's the first thing I thought of when I was watching that.
Yeah. While we're on that subject,
like a Star Trek. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, just like it kind of felt like Star Trek 6-y also, especially like with the snow, and the uniforms seem to be like next, like a future generation of like the original series movies outfits, rather than like 90s Trek. So just like seeing like that maroon walking in snow, especially with the Tellarite, who kind of looks like a Star Trek 6 alien. It just felt very Star Trek 6-y.
Well,
which I love.
Well, check this out. So back to our buddy Don, since we're talking about that, check this out here.
Lay it on me.
Look what he did. So this is Tilly running from that alien. This is Kirk running from that monster in the 2009 JJ movie.
Oh.
Very cool, very similar, nice homage
also
there, whether deliberate or not. Yeah. So those are fun. Like every once in a while you're watching these things and you're like, oh, is that just a coincidence, or are they paying homage? I'd probably say 50-50. Sometimes it's an homage, sometimes it's a coincidence. Because how many different ways can you have somebody running from a snow monster, or how many different ways can you say, well, they're in a little shuttlecraft, but they need to be at the top of the mountain to create a good story. What's the reason for that, But yeah, definitely like The Ascent.
The other thing that reminded me a lot of Deep Space Nine in this episode, actually from that episode you just reviewed today with Terry Farrell, you were cordially invited, was that like grief thing called like Quith something, the Quajon like grief thing. And Book actually says like you can't replicate this with just like holographic matter. And it reminded me a lot of when Sorella like yells at Dax that she can't replicate those Klingon candles with just the replicator. It was kind of like a very similar argument. But I thought it was fun, both episodes you're talking about in the very same day.
Yeah. I was also, just to piggyback off things that this reminds you of, it also reminded me of the movie Tremors. I don't know if you guys were younger, but
Tremors, hell yeah, dude.
Tremors was a movie about these like creatures that lived under the sand.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a scary movie, but I remember Tremors, and I wonder if that's like the first movie that had like these underground creatures kind of following you around. But Tremors was another kind of thing that I thought of when I was watching this.
Anne-Marie, you haven't seen Tremors?
Oh, I wasn't allowed to watch scary movies when I was little.
Oh, that's a bummer. They're really cool. They're like these giant, kind of like Dune. They're like these big worms. Scary. Yeah, they're like these big worms that would go around and they'd come out, and that's their little mouth.
Just like these pyrosome sea pickles. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the movie Tremors right there. Old school. Who was that? Kevin Bacon?
Kevin Bacon, yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know what's really interesting about the Quaishon language too that I saw in the credits? It's actually the credits credit the development of it to Mark Okrand, who also of Klingon language fame. So they brought him back to do Quaishon.
They must be crazy.
Hey, there was like a pause there where we were both thinking, what can we put in there? The gods must be crazy.
Oh my gosh. I love that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a little bit of that. That was the language that Book was speaking in.
Yeah, it started saying that Mark Okrand was the developer for that language, like in episode 1. Obviously, like any Star Trek fan, I scour the credits for information. Also to look for Mohamed Noor in the science consultant, like credit and take a picture because I'm so excited to be in the credits.
Shout out to our good buddy, Mr. Dr. Mohamed Noor, a science advisor on several episodes of Discovery and other series. We also saw a Saurian, by the way, speaking of which, in the conference or whatever that was, the meeting, the conference, there was a kind of an older Saurian. So that's the first time we've seen 2 Saurians in one episode. There was Linus losing at a game of cards, and there was unnamed Saurian guy or gal at the conference. I thought that was number really cool.
1.
Yeah, with the conference, I had a little problem with that scene. And here was my problem when the 2 presidents, they were about to give the ceremony, and we're about to join Navarre into the Federation. And then at the last second, she's like, well, we have a final we have a final thing. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's the whole point of negotiating, is that you have already worked out these terms. And if you did have a final thing, which she was going to introduce to Tarina, the Navarre president, if she did have something, I would suspect that she would say, hey, and lastly, before we finalize this deal, this is the clause that we need to have, and let's have a break and discussion over it. Not really argue that over, in front of everybody on the spot between the 2 of them, because number one, it gives the illusion that the 2 of them have the unilateral power to negotiate terms of the deal, when we know that even the president of the Federation, she doesn't have the unilateral authority to just say accept or deny terms of a deal. She would have to go back and discuss it with other officials in the cabinet, quote unquote. So I just don't feel like it played out realistically, in my opinion. That's like
totally agreed.
You agree with that? That's like Putin and Biden standing on stage at a G7 conference, and then they're gonna sit there and argue points of a deal, like right there in public.
Yeah,
it's not gonna happen.
I see that on Star Trek episodes always, and it does bug me too. But it's kind of like they have to have it super condensed. Is like, they'll have like a captain and another captain or whatever making an agreement for 2 full empires by saying, well, throw in a case of root beer. Okay, well, you do, and you're
That
like,
is
come
true.
on, that would go back and they would deliberate with their own people for months about this. But it's like,
Yeah.
you got to
Well,
do it for TV. You know, you got
well,
kind of
I
like
thought,
romances.
like,
They got to fall in love and fall out of love in 43.
okay, that's all real. But
Yeah.
but with the government part, I also felt like it was weird that like they keep doing this where you need to have like Michael Burnham-Sue and that crew there. Like, no, the leaders of the planets totally would know the history, and they don't need people from back in time to remind them of that. I want to believe that. But yeah, it was a little bit weak, but I really did love the direction that this episode starts taking, where they're going towards like having a few plots and having like very Star Trek resolutions, like finding common ground and like learning from each other and talking, which is why I love this episode so much. I feel like it's going in a really like a direction that I love Star Trek to go in.
And I liked all of the plots overall. Like I liked
You love
all
a
of
good lower decks.
all of the little bubbles of storyline that were happening. And I can't be the only one that wants to see those cadets again.
Oh my God,
I
especially
hope-
the Orion.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know
I'm
about
not usually into
especially.
brooders, but
You mispronounce breeders. But yeah, I mean, like they introduce these, this cool crew, and a lot of times when you kind of fall into them, you like them, you care about the characters, you don't want them to be a one-off. You're hoping somewhere down the line we visit Tilly, of course, and she's out there with her and her three favorite students walk in together, or something. You want them to be a crew, or you want to see them come back, or maybe season 6 or 7 comes along and they're now part of the Discovery. Stuff like that would be awesome. Like they're kind of like their versions of Nog, or they go off to Starfleet Academy, but we see them again later. And that's what I'm hoping for.
Do you think this might be the Academy spinoff that everybody keeps saying is in the works?
I think it might be, but I'm not sure because, first of all, they then would not be able to have, O'Brien as a professor, which I think he'd be perfect as a professor, or any of these other people that we know and love from the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. But now, well, maybe not 2000s if it was, depending on when the time frame is. So this would only be in Discovery's new time.
There is that crossover article that would fit with that. And then also
but
Mary Wiseman said in the Ready Room that she will be back in Star Trek.
Oh, she said in Star Trek, not on Discovery? Because there's wording there.
She'll be back. She just said you haven't seen the last of her.
Because here's the thing is this Starfleet Academy show, for all we know, and maybe Cirroc knows differently. Maybe they've already invited him to be a professor. We don't know. You never know. Oh man, that would be so cool. But
he writes the school newspaper.
But for all we know, they're not writing or shooting that. It might be in development. We don't know what stage it's in, but we know that it's not sometime in the next year or two. I mean, it's not going to be out for a while. So unless they're planning on having Mary Wiseman maybe pop back up 3, 4, 5, 6 years later, I don't know. I think that she's still going to be in Discovery somehow. I think they're going to work at it. Now, she may still later on be part of that Starfleet Academy thing. I don't know, but yeah, it would be terrible if she was gone. She's great. We really like her. Cirroc and I were just talking about this morning about her acting's phenomenal, right?
Yeah, I think she is very natural, and the way she delivers her lines are very natural. She's got this very bubbly personality and delivery that just seems so authentic and so off the cuff. I don't feel like she's searching for her lines when she's giving her lines. And when you're doing Star Trek and a lot of techno stuff, it is sometimes searching for the line, and you're like, what do I have to say? But she just kind of comes off like she's having coffee with a girlfriend and talking, about something. And I like that the casualness to her.
Oh, from like day one, that roommate, the roommate dynamic reminds me so much of Jake and Nog. with like Tilly and Burnham, and that's what I thought was so special from like episode 1 of or whatever episode they get on Discovery, 2 or 3. Just and they like kind of brought that back, and it's just you have such strong like Jake and Nod chemistry. It's just so special, and it's hard to recreate that, and they totally started nailing it, and especially with the like just like 2 girls hanging out dynamic, really fun.
Yeah. And as far as the Starfleet cadets are concerned, I felt like they did a pretty good job of explaining how and why that the cadets that they were receiving now were like low on morale and kind of distrustful of each other. And there was like they were really having problems with the cadets. And I thought that was an interesting kind of reality that the Federation is facing right now.
Like also, bro, don't you Google your classmates to see who they are?
Bro,
like, see their backstory.
Nobody does that.
Tell her right, bro.
Yeah, you would think they would know more about each other than like, hey, because it felt like a little Alcoholic Anonymous when they were like one by one, like, hi, my name is Jim, and I've been, it's like, you didn't go through this already, like,
that's why they need Tilly, I guess.
Yeah, it just felt a little bit like little Alcoholics Anonymous. But I guess when I'm in a situation that it's just me and a small group of people that are involved, how do you avoid not getting to know who those 4 or 5 people, like, you get put in a class project or class assignment, and you guys are like, okay, the 5 of you got to make a volcano. I mean, you gotta, everybody figures out pretty quickly,
but don't you also hate it, or were you guys the kind of people that hated it or loved it when they'd be like, okay, everybody go around the room and introduce yourself and tell us something interesting? I'd be like, oh man, I was one of them. I was like, I feel you, dude. Nobody wants to do that. That's such a
real moment, and it was captured so well. But I did feel like if you're a Telluride or something and you have an Orion in your class, you probably would have like Googled who it is. And
I'm not a creepy stalker. Sorry.
Oh, weird. Well, I am. I'll do the research.
Yeah. And we're glad that you do, by the way. Everybody at home, Anne-Marie does some great work of looking ahead on episodes of Deep Space Nine for us, and on new Star Trek, letting us know who's a good candidate as a guest. That reminds me,
I need to buy some Broadway tickets to go hunt down people at stage doors to be guests coming up.
Better you than me.
Yeah. Including
but I do like
Mary Wiseman.
One of the reasons I liked Deep Space Nine so much was the political implications of the Federation and the Dominion and the diplomacy going on there with the Romulans are against us, the Klingons are with us, the Cardassian, all that kind of stuff. And we started to see some of that in this episode, which I love, which is, the fall of certain empires and the rebirth of the Federation. Now the Federation seemingly is getting 3 new races back in, right? That's the Romulans, the Vulcans, and presumably the Remans come along with the Romulans.
Oh, you love Remans.
I love Remans. Who doesn't? So hopefully, theoretically, that means we'll get a Reman popping up in Discovery at some point. That would be pretty cool. Reman Marcus. And so
I'll shop there.
and then we've got all this kind of political intrigue or diplomacy going on. I just like that stuff. And I hope this season has more of that. I want to know more about the Federation and how it's growing, and the worlds of the Federation and which ones are coming back together, the citizenry that's coming back together, and how they interact with each other, and which races get along, which ones have an opportunity for growth. But I'm hoping to see a lot more of that this season.
Same to you.
I don't know about you guys, but when I was watching this episode and Burnham kind of, she takes the position that she's going to negotiate the terms of this deal and kind of convince the president and be that bridge. I think she even says, I'll be the bridge. I don't know if you guys were thinking this, but I was thinking never burn them bridges.
Oh, that is excellent.
Ryan, you're ruining Cirroc.
That
Thank
is
you.
what? Oh,
Thank you, Ryan.
I almost fell out of my chair. I almost choked on my aha beverage. That was so good. But I will say that it was funny to me where Burnham's like, I got this great idea. We should have like a committee that's kind of in charge of everything, making sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to. I mean, I volunteer myself to be I guess I could sacrifice the time to be in charge of all of you. I mean, I'll do that for you. I was like, oh, that's so sweet of you to offer that.
And they actually like call it an elegant solution. And I'm like, if you need to call it an elegant solution, it's not that elegant. Like,
why not?
But, I don't know. It seemed very straightforward, and it seemed like they were stretching a little bit. It wasn't that elegant. It was very obvious. But I like the direction they're going, and I hope they keep continuing on this.
What word would you use instead of elegant?
It seems pretty simple.
Pragmatic?
Yeah, pragmatic's good. But I like that they're going in a direction to have more elegant solutions to things.
But see, Vulcans view things that are very pragmatic as elegant because they value logic so highly. Save me, Cirroc. That's all I got.
Okay.
I will say, number one, I noticed again for this in this series, because I think early on in the first or second season, we saw a folded flag when they first,
the very beginning.
Right, there was a folded flag, and it was part of the Federation, the remnants of the Federation, right? And then at this episode, they had a presentation where they had the folded flag being handed to the Navarre president, right? Or something to that effect. And I thought, wow, that's interesting how the ceremony of a folded flag has still remained, instrumental in diplomatic relations or signifying some kind of serious moment. So I just kind of took note of the folded flag in this episode. I thought that was a nice little reference to military historic history. Yeah, it looked beautiful.
Too, amazing decor too.
Yeah, and actually, that would be something I would be interested in having if they ever had like something to collect from this show. It would probably be one of those folded flags.
I heard it makes a great comforter. No, but it looked great. I mean, I too noticed that when I saw that. I was like, wow, that looks really sharp. And I don't know, sometimes they present something in a way where it brings up our own imagery, of our own memories or something, but it also just looks pretty, like whether it's the lighting, whether it's
that like just
everything. I mean,
lounge.
This show looks beautiful, and there's so many times in my notes where I go, wow, that looks really pretty. There was one scene, where was it? I think it was at the very beginning of when they were going to have the conference, and it starts off with an outside view of something and then pans, pulls back through the window of the room that they're in or something. But whatever that view was, looked amazing. And look, even just the lighting behind me in this room looks gorgeous with like
totally gorgeous.
They had like these colors.
Huge wood light fixtures that looked really gorgeous, and tea sets. And the other cool thing that I heard on the Ready Room was talking about that snow globe, which I mean, I love when they have like little mementos scattered around, kind of like the Sisko baseball, or Picard's been talking tapestry blanket. The snow globe, they actually found like a snow globe specialty retailer and had like this company make the snow globe for the show. And also interesting is that like the ship inside is only the size of a silver dollar, but it's like magnified because of the snowball liquid.
That's cool.
Isn't that cool? Like so much care goes into it. And I love that it's getting passed around, and I hope we continue to see it, kind of like the telescope also.
Can we also talk about, we only have a few minutes left, but can we also talk about
Bajor?
Okay, when Bajor, but okay, yes, Michael Burnham called Bajor Bajor. Picard calls it Bajor. Everybody has a million different ways of saying things.
How does Jake Sisko call it? What does Jake Sisko call it?
I say Bajor.
Okay.
He says it the
That's
correct
how
way, Anne Marie.
Yes.
Excuse me.
Yeah, he has land there.
But I do want to also point out the music.
I have a few girlfriends from there, so they set me straight.
What?
Hang out in cargo bays watching the chicks unload.
No, but so this music at the end when we've got Tilly's montage, great
Oh, I was gonna
montage. It
talk
was
about
really
this.
nice, really cool montage, really nice. We liked it. Who knows how long she's gonna be gone for, but of course they're gonna give her something, of course. But that music
I was
really,
gonna totally talk about it.
it really stood out to me. I was like, wow, this song. I said that the scoring is very pretty.
Every
Really
time they
nice.
use like strings like that, it started in the beginning of the episode. Actually, when I watched it the second time, they started doing that theme with like violins, and that kind of also reminded me of like the episode of Voyager Homestead where Neelix leaves the ship. They also used a lot of like strings on that one too, and it sort of like evokes like a really beautiful, poignant, like serene kind of quality to the episode where they're about to like make a big decision, but they're totally like happy and confident in it. And just I love those themes. Also, it happens in TNG with Worf, but the Neelix one really gets to me. But when everybody like lines up to say goodbye to the person leaving the ship, and they totally did it with Tilly, and I felt like she's the character in the show where I feel like that was the most earned. Like I really do feel her loss and mourn it, and you can see like I really do believe that everybody's going to miss her a ton, and I felt like the strings really echoed that.
Yeah, I wanted some clarity on that because I wasn't sure exactly what I was watching. Is Tilly like, where did Tilly go at the end? I saw her get on board the ship.
She's gonna go teach it at the new Starfleet Academy or the future Starfleet Academy. Theoretically, that's what they're saying, right?
Yes, and I love that line where because she has like the insight that she's changing paths, and she ended up like doing something that maybe she's not as confident that she wants to do. Being a teacher, she has like a really interesting perspective to lend to people. And I think a lot of like the talk right now about this episode is how Star Trek doesn't often show us what happens if you have a midlife changing career, which obviously like really resonates with me because I decided not to go back to medicine. And it's a really amazing like thing to see where like it's not that often depicted. Like if you're in one career and you've been like gunning for it since you're very little, like Tilly has, what it's like to change it and how it's hard to wrap your mind around like life not as part of your identity. And I think it's awesome that Tilly's going to teach because she does have an amazing perspective and will be able to offer like such amazing advice to what do you call them? And what are they called while they're in academy? Cadets?
Yeah.
Right. She has like a lot of like wisdom to impart on the cadets for them making their career decisions. I think it's an amazing direction for the show to go in.
Yeah, I'm hoping to see more of it.
Totally. I thought that the highlight of the episode was Tilly's scene at the end when she talks about, having been in Starfleet, kind of chasing the captain's rank. As that was her like motivation. She talked about being 900 years in the future and not missing her mom basically. She talked about how she wanted her mom to see her wearing those pips, but now it didn't really mean it as much. I really liked that scene. I thought she was great in it. I do have a little bit extra criticism too. I know we're towards the end, but I would like to say there's not enough of a villain that I'm seeing in this season. And I wish they made the president's character, who I felt like was going to be like the Kai Wynn of this show. She might. I want her to be, and I think she has the potential to be very hated because there's moments when I kind of want to hate her. Yeah. But she does the right thing and she shakes hands and she's like nice at the end or whatever. And you're like, okay, you got to pass this time, but I'm watching you. Yeah. Like at the end of this episode, she was kind of like, yeah, I had a secret. I couldn't tell you, no presidential privilege and da 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 da. And I'm thinking, this would like, You don't have to make it all wrap into a bow and everybody handshakes and it's all nice at the end. They can keep tension between them. They can make her a not liked character. Not everybody has to be liked. And so I feel like if you're going to make somebody the Kai Wynn of the show or the Gold Dukat of this show, make it the Federation president, in my opinion. That's my guess.
I wonder if a new one is going to come up like the lady from the Kuwait Malat. But yeah, maybe they're going to bring Michael and her to come together and get along and trust each other. And then she betrays them, like rips the bandage off. Then it's like,
and like the man in High Castle, she's like married to the head Nazi. So it is kind of hard to.
So there you go.
Who's like in charge of North America. So it is hard for me to like totally trust her. But at the same time, I was thinking today, I sort of like there not being any villain and we just get some character development. And again, like I really think the pandemic's been great to Discovery because it's really nice having these slower scenes with two people just talking instead of like rush all the time. And we're getting like some good character development, getting some good ships.
We also got to see Dr. Kovich again, finally, which was great. Culber and Book had some good moments. And I think
that was really beautiful.
It's all good stuff. We do have to run though. Boy, I didn't realize there was so much more to talk about. The USS Armstrong. Remember, there was an Armstrong.
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't there a USS Armstrong in Next Generation? There was something to where they said, "Oh, is it named after Neil Armstrong?" And then Riker says, "Louis," Louis Armstrong. Remember, what episode was that?
Fan fiction episode you wrote?
No, there was an episode. Everybody at home knows what I'm talking about. There was an episode where Riker says something about the Armstrong, and they said, "Oh, is it named after Neil Armstrong?" He says, "No, Louis Armstrong." And I'm like, "Oh, of course, Riker would know that." The jazz musician, I love it.
That would be super cute.
I believe I'm 99% sure. So let us know in the comments below. What the heck am I talking about? You know what I'm talking about. Tell us what it is. You remember.
And also really fast, I love the Adira and Gray scenes. These were some of my favorite scenes of theirs where it seems like they have a relationship where each person is like enriched by the other. And I just love how Star Trek writes relationships where that's usually the case. Like both of them together makes each one of them better. And that's like, isn't that a relationship goal for everybody? Love it.
Yep. Okay, we do want to give a very special thanks, of course, to Carmen, aka Skillet TJ Jackson-Bey out in Missouri, Bill Victor Arucan, Yvette Blackmon, Tom, Homer Freezy out somewhere in New Yeezy, Eve England out in Wales, Dr. Anne-Marie Segal, Titus Mohler, Tim Baum, John Mann, Darlena Marie, Rex A. Wood, Dr. Mohamed Noor, Joe Balsarotti. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Tierney C. Dieckmann. Sorry, a couple new names. I should have practiced ahead of time. And we'll finish strong with Dr. Susan B. Gruner. Thank you all very much for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Until then, always remember the 7th rule.
Keep your ears open.